So, good morning, friends. Welcome to the next edition of the VDMA CEO's Thought Leadership Series. And today it's a proud privilege for us to welcome Dr. Sascha Buechel. Hearty welcome to you, Sascha. Dr. Sascha Buechel is the Joint Managing Director and member of the board of Wacker Metroack Chemicals Pvt Limited, based in Kolkata. Friends, Sascha has about more than 20 years of work experience, having worked in the Russian Federation, Japan, Germany, and now in India. Sascha has done his PhD program at University of Technology in Munich, Germany, and chemistry studies at the University of Cologne, Germany, and he has majored in chemical engineering. So, Sascha, thank you for joining us for this VDMA CEO's Thought Leadership Series. Sascha, let's start with Wacker. Now, Wacker has a very old history, a 107-year-old history. And what I read, it was established in October 1914. In fact, so it's an old tradition also. So maybe what we would like to hear from you, Sascha, briefly about a little bit on the history of Wacker Metroak and also the journey in India. When did this start and how has the going been in India, Sascha?
Right. Rajesh, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I think it's a privilege to join this kind of interactive sessions as we are somewhat still not in our normal movement routines. I appreciate that I'll be able to share some of my thoughts, which could be also hopefully a base for some further discussion. Sure. Yeah, coming to my company. So maybe just quickly starting from the Wacker side, I'm here in India since 7 years now. So I'm obviously a German with my name and my career, and being in India for such a long time also makes me a little Indian. My sons are, growing up here in the local schools, and I hope I can, somewhat blend the two worlds together. What we are seeing, the German and the Indian world. Yeah. So my company also has that journey here. So we are coming from that German DNA, more than 100 years old companies, but actually it was amalgamated with an Indian company, which is Metroak. And Metroak also is a very strong veteran. It's a 75 years old company, and she focused more than 50 years on silicone. So actually we were merging two worlds, but based on a certain technology DNA, what we both are having. Yeah. So we were starting our joint venture, it's an Indo-German joint venture, in 1998. And it is a more than 20 years old, and in 23 we will have our 25th anniversary. So I think it's a great success. I think, Rajesh, you may know that not so many joint ventures in general, and I don't know many Indo-German joint ventures, you may know better than me even, but I think it's quite a success journey what we have been seeing in India. So also amalgamating, of course, the local, Indian-based kind of customer-focused approach, what we are having here, with some global aspects of engineering and product development, what we were seeing, was just the right combination. And also by saying that we have been staying in an Indian company and adding some features which have been complementary to our success here. I think that was the right balance what we have been striking over the years. So it was the founder also, Mr. Swaraj Ranjan Mukherjee, and now his son, Mr. Soumitra Mukherjee, is the MD, and I am the other director in the company, one from the Indian side and one from the German side. We always had this kind of management style of having two directors in the operations, and in our board also we have one director from the global team and one director from India to complement the board, dealings also. So founded in 98, first sales was in 99, started with less than 5 crores of sales and now becoming more than 1,000 crores. I think this year will be a fantastic year. So maybe we will be reaching a new record high, and that even after the pandemic, I have to say, who has thought last year, where we were all in a big, maybe a crisis mode, and maybe we can elaborate on that part a little later. But just saying that where are we coming from is really a strong kind of believe in the fundamental strength of an Indian company being in the right spot in India. Also, an interesting aspect to that is that we are in East in West Bengal. Also, maybe not so many companies have been seeing this as a how to say, supporting factor, but actually for us it has been a good decision. And also we are seeing that we are building another plant right now. Also we can discuss this a little later, but we have been very successful doing that in West Bengal. Also because we have export out of India into Bangladesh, especially for textiles, but also into Southeast Asia and other global destinations. And I think for that, West Bengal was a very good destination. So of course, not only we are in West Bengal, we also have our subsidiaries and sales hubs and distribution centers in the north and in the west and in the south. I think as an Indian company, you have to be close to your customers. And I think that's what we are doing with our distribution network, what we are seeing. So, but all in all, coming from the German side, I have to say now we are really an Indian company with a certain DNA or certain features we are adding from the German or the global world. I think that's the good combination what we're having.
Perfect, Sascha. Thank you for this explaining about the joint venture. And I think it's very encouraging to hear from you that it will be almost 25 years you would be covering shortly of the joint venture. And from 5 crores, the business has grown to over or nearing 1,000 crores. So I think this really speaks volumes of the good growth that the joint venture has achieved. And I'm sure there would be a lot more in the future years also, Sascha.
Hopefully, yes.
Yes, Sascha. Sascha, I was in fact quite intrigued by your tagline of Wacker. I found it very interesting, creating tomorrow's solution. Maybe I would like you to elaborate a little bit on this, Sascha, because I think it will be very interesting for our viewers also.
Right. Yeah, I think, me being a chemist and a technician from my background education, I find this is a very bold statement, right? Because, of course, it is an ambition that we don't, of course, want to stand still with our developments and sell the products we have been selling for the last 100 years. I think as a successful company, you have to be thinking ahead. You have to also try to understand your customers, maybe not even in the immediate need, of course, that you have to deliver today, but actually what the customers will be needing tomorrow. And of course, that is a joint development, what we will be doing with our customers and other partners. I think what we are striving for is that we are thinking ahead. And I think in the later part of our today's discussion, we can also touch the sustainability part of this. But I believe if we don't think ahead of today's portfolios, what you have been selling for years, I think you are actually doomed. I think this, the bold tagline is actually nothing you can avoid. I think you should go for the tomorrow solution, which will be helping our customers. Of course, it has been making a value to the customers and for yourselves naturally, and also it has to be ahead of the today's issues, because what we are seeing is that some of these product streams what we have right now are not the best streams. We are wasting energy, we are wasting resources. I think we have to come to a better setup. And the chemical world, I find, is of course a very critical player in this, and because it's always starts with chemicals or materials to make any product. So you have to get that whole supply chain from cradle to grave. You have to control this, and I think that is now the challenge of the times, and the new solutions require this maybe holistic approach and think about tomorrow, not today only.
Absolutely, Sascha. And I think since you're connected with the chemical industry, as you rightly mentioned, sustainability plays a very important role. In fact, Sascha, there's a lot of discussion happening now regarding the ESG goals of companies, environment, social, and governance. So maybe we would like to understand from you, what are the ESG goals being followed by Wacker Metroak, Sascha?
Yeah, so I believe we don't have much of a different agenda in India than we have on the global scale. So I think you have to be convinced that these are the right targets on the mid and the long term. So I think there's no earth 2.0, right? So we have to tackle these things, and the environmental and the social and governance aspects of that are just in one package. They're all connected. No? You have to look at them as the package to be resolved or to be worked on to just get a better future even than where we are now. So we are, as a company, we support the European Green Deal, which also was maybe a very strong, again, a very bold statement, but to not have any net emissions by 2050, that is the Green Deal in Europe, and also the economic growth should be decoupled from the resources, and also no person and no place should be left behind. So that is actually the ESG, maybe the spirit of that, and also our company is following that full-heartedly, because, as I said initially, there is no alternative, we believe. So if I have to be also more specific, and we are very specific with our goals also. So and this is not only to please our shareholders. It is actually put into our policies also. That especially in the chemistry worlds, we, as I mentioned before, we have a vital contribution to the global progress and the sustainable development as it starts with the materials. So, and we are for more than 30 years. Also, there is an initiative we are members of. It's called the Responsible Care Initiative, which started in 1985. And this is actually the same, also social economic kind of industry-specific targets, what we have been pushing for more than 30 years. So it's nothing new. So what we are doing on top of that, especially when it comes to on the human rights and labor standards and environment protection and anti-corruption rules, there's this global compact from the UN, which we are also subscribing to, and I think these principles stand with us for long. But of course, these now environment focus, what we have been seeing, including the Green Deal, also we have translated into very hard targets for us. And basically, we see three pillars of our initiatives. And of course, the first one is you have to get your footprint down. And we have to create efficient and very safe processes and we have to reduce our resources. And specifically, we said for us that we want to reduce our specific energy consumption by more than 50% until 2030, I'm sorry, and about 1/3 of our specific greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. So what we have been seeing in the greenhouse deal from the European Commission, I think we have to tackle it with the shorter time targets until end of that decade. Significantly reduction have to be already done, and we take it very seriously here. So there's a multitude of course, different actions, specific actions to come to that target. I think it's not enough time to go into that. But from that pillar, of course, footprint down, you have to get your homework done. Whatever your company can do to do that, you have to chase that. But of course, a very important factor is also what is towards your customers. I believe for the customers, you have to create value also by giving a product to them which helps them to reduce their footprint. And we are very happy that the materials we have in our portfolio have this potential. Let me just give one example. As for the silicone, and you don't need to understand silicones from the chemistry, but if you make 1 kilo of silicone, you are producing about 5-6 kilos of CO2, which is a terrible balance as it stands, right? And we will be working on our footprint, as we say, on that to reduce that part. But what it does is if you apply that 1 kilo of silicone into certain application, and we have one application where it goes into, even in India, it goes into a laundry detergent application where it reduces or enhances the performance of the detergent, and you use a lot less water and a lot less CO2 for heating and other elements. So what we have been seeing, if you look into the whole supply chain of this, so 1 kilo of silicone applied, so you have been using or producing CO2 of about 5-6 kilos, but you're saving 60 kilos of CO2 by applying it into that laundry application, by translating it and you're saving about 50,000 kilos of water by using that. So I think by using a product which has the potential to also reduce the footprint, but also you are reducing at the customer side the balance, is also a fantastic approach to get from the cradle to the grave kind of concept. You are responsible for the whole supply chain. I think that is a good example, and we need much more of those, and we have more of those. And the third pillar is, of course, it is not only on us and our customers, but also we have to go one step back, and our collaboration and our suppliers and our vendors also, we need to challenge and we need to work with them so that their balance and the products we are using and the raw materials we are using also are part of this concept. And I think we are doing that, that we are seeing this three pillars working together very sufficient. So that is, in a nutshell, the three pillars we are following. And in India, as I say, we have also very specific, in India, we are not on the scale of Germany yet, but also in India specifically, we have reduced our specific energy consumptions. We're actually reusing materials in India, which is also a concept which should be focused more, I believe. I think India has a large potential by reusing materials. I think it is happening on the bottles, on papers, on the smaller scale already, but in an industrial scale, I find there's a lot of potential by going into more recycling routines, and I think we're doing that already for decades here. We're reducing our diesel consumption, and of course, with our new plant, which is coming up in Kolkata area, we try to make everything even more efficient to have a good setup for the future.
Great, good, Sascha. Great to know about all the efforts that you're undertaking to reduce emission as well as on the environmental front. Sascha, let's come to the situation in India a little bit. Now, we were hit with the pandemic, the 2 years. We had the first lockdown, then the second lockdown came. There is a lot of the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister to make India Atmanirbhar, or self-reliant, self-resilient. So the aim is here so that domestic supply chain, to strengthen the domestic supply chain, Sascha. So what I would like to ask you, Sascha, is what is the level of localization being followed by Wacker Metroak presently? And are you going ahead? Are you looking at increasing the sourcing or developing your vendor base more in India?
Yeah, Rajesh, that's, I think, a very good question. I believe, again, also there is no alternative to doing that. I think the crisis has shown that the globalization has its limits. And I think to depend on certain geographies makes your geography weaker. I think that was, the concept was true from the beginning, but in the crisis, it shows how much we have to focus on that. And we were also seeing this, how successfully we can do it in India. And as I said, we started as a small company with 5 crores, and now we have more than 500 people and more than 1,000 crores, because we believe in the localization also. All the processes we are having in India actually are the same quality processes, the same standards, what we are seeing in the global world, and we're bringing it also to India more and more. The bottleneck right now is still that the certain raw material base is not available in India, including the silicone raw materials. You need a global scale plant for this, and not yet the business in India is allowing this kind of investment. But I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, I think there is enough potential for Indian growth also to go look into the raw materials production in India itself. And we are already now a downstream unit, as you call it in the chemical world, where basically you're blending and reacting certain raw materials and making it into a product. And we are going now back, integrate further in our supply chains to go into intermediates, and finally into some raw materials we are producing in India also. And as I mentioned before, we are building a new site, which is especially continuing that concept. Materials which were not available until this year in India will be and had to be brought from other geographies, including China. Now we will do in India. I think very much understood from our side, very much necessary from Indian point of view, and I think we need to be self-sufficient in India going forward. No alternative to that.
Great, great. So that means the plans for India are very much on card, Sascha.
Yes, yes.
Sascha, also let us talk a little bit on skilling in India. So skilling is actually a continuous process, Sascha. You would have to, there would be a de-learning, a relearning of the, as we go ahead, as new technologies come, new processes come. Now, what are the steps being undertaken at Wacker Metroak in India, Sascha, when we talk about skilling of the workforce and getting them in tune or in sync with the new technologies, Sascha?
Right. I think this is, of course, also a given. As I said before, you want to actually make something which is even not available today. For that is our ambition. And of course, you need the team to also be able to deliver to that ambition. And I think that skilling part is a very crucial part. And let me start also to praise and maybe here I have to say as a foreigner still, although I'm somewhat half matured into India also, but the talent what I see in India is no more far or is actually at par or even beyond what we are seeing in other parts of the world, including Germany. So I think what we have been blessed with is a very strong and well-educated team. The people what we are getting from the schooling system actually is a quite good level. The bottleneck here is, and I think we discussed at this point, Rajesh, at another occasion, is that the practical part of the education is very low. So you have normally almost rocket scientists from the mind, but nobody can put a nail into the wall. And that is something which we had to look at. I think for us, the skilling part is really making a practical transformation of what the people are bringing in from their minds already, and that skilling what we are doing is not a off the books kind of skilling. It is a really on the job kind of education, and we are designing that also based on the skill level and the job we want them to run. So it is not a, as I said, it's not a catalog of 5 trainings and then you are a specialist for this. I think it is also very much our HR and our, the team leaders have to just say, I need, this guy, for this person, I need a little more, mechanical training. For this, he needs more chemicals, focus. And we design that for that specific, job, what we need to do. So it sounds a little fuzzy, but actually it's working very well by getting a good a team into the company and making them as a practical engineering or chemical specialist. I think that works very, very nicely. Also the team, you learn while you do. You of course have to also train the safety parts and all the environment parts, which is coming and maybe not taught at the university so much. But yeah, I think we have a good balance, and of course there's a certain limitation how much you can scale this. So a chemical company, you cannot scale like an IT company. So it's really, as your assets grow, you can bring people, because that is on the job training limitation, how much jobs you have also on the floor. So that's how we see it. A great people coming in, and then we have to make them into a specialist in our company, and that works quite fine over the last 20 years. So very good.
Very nice. Nice to hear about the efforts and endeavors being undertaken by Wacker Metroak, Sascha. Sascha, coming to the last question for today, if we see, Sascha, the period 2021 and the pandemic, now we have really been through unprecedented time, I would say uncertain times. This also calls for leadership skills, and perhaps pandemic was something where there was no history to go back on. So what we would like, and I think it will be for the benefit of our viewers also, Sascha, if you could share 3 leadership tips, what you have undertaken so that the company moves ahead despite of these difficult situations, Sascha.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Rajesh. I think many people have asked me because in India, we also have been seeing maybe a couple more, nightmares last year. So it was not only the pandemic hitting us. We had in West Bengal also a cyclone running through. So it was what a hazard we have been coming through. And as a tip is, because we didn't know how long it will take, how fast you can recover. But the first and foremost, of course, in the strong crisis is you have to get your cash under control. You must be able to pay your employees, suppliers, and vendors that you are, sustain, in this part. And we cut down, of course, many things. What you can cut down, whatever fat you can, absorb from your bank, what you're having. And I think we were just making sure that we were able, that our cash flow is under control was very, very important. We had also the global team behind us, and I think India was struck hardest, maybe in the whole world in the April times and May even, when we had these hard lockdowns running through. So we were seeing even they would be helping us, but actually we had to solve our problems ourselves first, and I think we did that quite well. So first, you have to look after your cash in the strong crisis. And what I specifically as a second focus, what I've been seeing in the last 2 years almost now is the biggest risk for us was and is, and we discussed it before a bit, if you don't get your supply chains under control, including your suppliers and the availability of raw materials or whatever you're buying, what you need for your products and services, what you have been doing, you have to reduce your supply risk. So what, you try to get your own redundancy, or you create a local kind of supply chain, which is much more under control, because we have been seeing borders were shut. We have been seeing disruptions in logistics. Also, ships were not running. You cannot get containers. I think the globalization has reached its limits, and you have to make your global business more redundant by using more localized kind of redundancies to secure your business in these VUCA times. Yeah. So that number 2. So you have to get your supply chain under control. And the third, also to put a positive spin to the whole story, is that if you believe in the business fundamentals, and if you're right, if you also believe in your strategy, you should actually use this crisis to invest. I mean, now it's easy to say, but if we would have invested last year even into our plant more, because there was everything available at a good price, and even service. And now what we are seeing, we try to get everything done, and nothing is available, or the raw materials have been tripled or quadrupled in prices. I think now you pay the price maybe by not enough believing in the crisis time. And I think that would something I really would like to mention. If you believe in your business fundamentals, and of course if you don't, you may change that and also the strategy to that, but if you still believe, then you should anti-cyclically invest. Then you are, once this swings back, and it always swung back. We should see in the history, every crisis was followed by a swing back. And especially specifically in India, I'm so bullish about the demand coming, and also the demand will never cease. If you see what kind of outlook what we are having and seeing for India. So based on this, make more in India, I think is the right approach. Even include production, although there's a lot of obstacles to that, but we are convinced that this is the right way forward. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfectly, Sascha, as you rightly said, I think there's a popular saying, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good we can a little bit smile. I mean, but with all the sorrow that we have been seeing, and I don't want to, of course, I don't want to lower this at all. But I think to learn from this, even that what has been hitting us, that now we are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, and I think that is the attitude what we need, and go for it.
Right. So thank you, Sascha, and on behalf of the German Engineering Federation, VDMA, and all our members and viewers, thank you so much for sparing your time, and wishing you and Wacker Metroak a lot of success for the future also, Sascha.
Thank you, Rajesh and the VDMA, for giving me this opportunity. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Right.